extends also to Allah's creation, because loving Allah's creation is part of loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the Quran talks about dunya, you shouldn't understand dunya to be mountains. Mountains are not dunya. Mountains are alam, it's part of the world. Rivers are alam, trees are alam. These are all things that we should love and cherish and preserve. Dunya is the ephemeral aspect, the illusory aspect of the world. It's parties, it's prestige, it's positions of power, it's the Mont Blanc pen, and that's the dunya is all of those aspects of the world that entice people. The alam is the aspects of the world that remind people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and sometimes even from where they don't know. So there's a difference between dunya and alam. Alam in Arabic is called ismu ala. It's the noun, the instrumental noun. It's a noun that enables you to do something. Like tabi' is the stamp. It's what you tatba' bihi. So alam with a fatha, Rabbul Alameen. Alam with a fatha, alim with a kasra is knower. Alam is the means by which you know something. So the world itself is the means by which you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the world is something to cherish and to recognize as being from the divine source. And then the other things that you should love in the world are those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Allah loves karam. Inna Allah yuhib as-sabirin. Allah loves patient ones. Allah loves trustworthy people. Allah loves virtue. Allah loves courage. The hadith says, Inna Allah yuhib ash-shaja'a wa law fi qatri hayya. Even in the killing of a poisonous snake, Allah loves courage. And then whenever Allah loves something, you can always assume mafhum al-mukhalifa, that the opposite Allah hates, like cowardice. It's something that Allah doesn't love. And miserliness, because Allah loves karam, generosity. Sakha, Jude. Jude is generosity without having to be asked. Sakha is generosity when you're asked. So the Arabs differentiate between that. So the Prophet was kana ajwad an-nas. He was the most generous of people without having to ask. So that assumes kana askha an-nas, that he was the most askha, the most generous of people who are asked. So those aspects, so there's a couple of things. One, your kin folk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala binds people through relationships. He makes mawadda and rahmah from the marital relationship. From the marital relationship comes children. From children come bonds. Because if you marry a woman, even if you divorce her, you've always got the mother-in-law. It doesn't matter. Because now that woman is your mother-in-law. She'll always be a mahram for you until you die. So marriage makes bonds that you can't escape. It doesn't matter. And there's no reason why, if you end up hating your spouse, you should hate the mother-in-law. Because she's always related to you. And the same is true for the father-in-law. The same is true when you have children. You have aunts and uncles from the other side that are part of your family. So musahara is part of our religion, marital bonds. They bring people together. So even if you divorce, there's no reason for there to be enmity. Because people are incompatible. It's a chemistry. It's just like chemistry. You put certain chemicals together and they bond, and other chemicals, they explode. That's chemistry. And we're like that, humans. We have amzija. I mean, there used to be a lot of knowledge people had of temperaments, and they used to work out if you were Balghami, Tawdawi, Safrawi, Damawi, if you were Yabis or Har or Barid or Ratib, they knew, like, based on your temperament, what type of person was the best suited for you. Because people are different. It's similar to the Enneagram, but it's not. I don't want to go into the Enneagram, but it's similar to that idea that there are personalities, and some personalities are more compatible. I mean, people, astrology, personality astrology, as people get into that thing. But in Islam, it had much more to do with a theory of medicine, Tibb al-Yunani, which is similar to Chinese medicine also, where you have temperaments. Like a Demawi person, they tend to be cheerful type people. But if you get a Safrawi, you're going to have different relationships. So two Demawis, they'll do quite well together. Different personalities like that. They used to have also compatibility in relation to the families. The mothers would know whether or not they thought, because parents, you'll hear parents say, I know my son will get along with your child really well, because they know the way their child is, they know what they like, they know. So there's those times. So parents often had a lot to do with relationships. So people get into relationships and they don't always work out. That doesn't mean that they can't be helped. You can do things to help people also. But love is very important in your marital relationships, because Allah, it's one of the maqasid, it's one of the aims and purposes of marriage is muwadda, which is that wood is the safwat al-mahabba. It's pure love. It's not love tainted by ulterior motives. You actually love it's more important to you that other person gets what they need than what you get what you need. In dysfunctional type of relationships, people use each other. But in a truly loving relationship, it's quite the opposite. Each one wants to serve the other. And then they work out in which ways they can best do that. And then also loving your fellow Muslims, having really love for them. Not, the Prophet ﷺ said, do you want to see a man who's in paradise? And they saw this man, and one of the Sahaba said, I wanted to find out what he had that other people didn't have. And he went and he asked if he could stay with him for a few days, and he said yes. And he didn't fast, he didn't pray extra, he was pretty normal, just regular like anybody else in Medina, and he couldn't understand it. And he was convinced, why is this man different? And he told him, I want to see is there anything that you do? What's your practice? He said, I make sure that I never go to sleep with having a bad feeling towards any Muslim. And the Prophet ﷺ, that's what he was hinting at. It was that man's pure-heartedness. He didn't have rancor or resentment. And that type of purity. The Prophet said, أَيَعْجُزُ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَكُونَ كَأَبِي ضَمْضَمْ. Is one of you unable to be like Abu Damdam? Abu Damdam was somebody who used to give his honor, his name, in charity to people that spoke ill of him. Like if he heard somebody spoke, he'd say, "Atasaddaq alayh." It's charity. In other words, those good deeds that the man lost for speaking ill of him, he gave back to him as charity. So he said, "There's some of you, you can't be like Abu Damdam. Give that back to the people in charity." But other people, they hear somebody spoke ill of them, and they want to go kill them. So it's very important. And then also your children, having an environment of love in your family, in your house. Your children should feel love. You want your children to be an environment of love. The Prophet ﷺ kissed his children, he hugged them. And we know that children need a lot of touching. They need a lot of tactile stimulation. If you don't give them that, they actually suffer from it. We also know a lot of sociopathic behavior is the result of maltreatment when they were children. So it's very important to have a lot of love in the house.